All right. Well, welcome Cornerstone Group. I know it's kind of late, and I'm kind of laughing because where all three of us are located. Claudia's in southern Florida. John, you're in Oklahoma, and I'm in North Carolina. And today is the first day of fall, and it was 90 degrees here. And I'm like, first day of fall. I'm like, I feel like we're getting gypped out of something. So hopefully everyone's first day of fall was a little bit better. But John, as you know, and JK talks about this all the time. August 1st. He says August 1st is first day of fall. Football season starting around the corner. We're going into probably the best sales months, the next 4 months of
Yeah.
the year versus the other few months. And I was laughing at Taylor Rumbo the other day saying I hate August, and then you kind of like bounce back with a great fall. So super thankful to have you on, John. I have to give a shout out to one of my good friends, Ricky. He was listening to you on Thursday, and he kind of has been watching you from the beginning. And he was like, "Man," he goes, "John is just awesome. I love his story and how he's where he is now." And I said, "Man," I said, "Why don't we just have him on a call?" And he's like, "You can do that." I was like, "Man," I said, "He just texted me like a couple days ago." I was like, "I'll
Oh,
drop
yeah.
him a text." I said, "Let me get JK's permission," and he goes, "We'll rock and roll." And then when I told JK, and he was ecstatic over the phone. He's like, "Make it happen." I was like, "All right." I was like,
Yeah.
"I'll make it happen." So thank you again for coming on. I do want to make one announcement to you guys. I hope you guys get with your leaders. Hopefully, JK will talk more about this on our Monday morning CVO, but definitely get with your leaders about this. And definitely strive to get to integrity to win the Integrity Life Center. I don't think it's really a contest because I think, John,
Mhm.
everyone can go out and win a thousand
Yeah.
dollars, and I think that's phenomenal. And then with that $1,000, John, they can come to Indianapolis and be able to meet you in person and ask
Yeah,
you
right.
questions.
Well, what better way to spend $1,000 than to come meet me in person, right?
Yep,
No,
exactly.
not at all.
Exactly. Get your ticket, get your plane ticket, get to
Uh,
Indianapolis, and then use the rest of the money for Christmas money. So I mean, that what an awesome time, to get that $1,000 end of mid-November, right around Black Friday and into that
mhm.
time as well. Be super
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, sorry to hijack here, but it's just
you're
10
good.
apps. So,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can do that. Really, it's just a great opportunity from Integrity for them to help us learn how to use the Integrity Connect and to learn how to use the Lead Center and Life Center. Like they're really paying us to learn how to use the tools that we're going to start using from here on out. So, I
Yeah.
mean, really, everybody has this opportunity. I've already got mine. We've already put 10 apps through, good to go. So, just go lock it down.
I love that. And Claudia and I and JK were talking today, and on the call this past week, they highlighted it, but one of Lincoln's agents, Steven, wrote 22,000, John, in his first week, and it's just from warm market and friends and family. And just think about that. Just who's 10 people through you should at least have 10 contacts of people who would be over the moon for living benefit life insurance, where they don't have to die to use their living benefits. I mean, we have people, John, that have coverage on their cell phones that it's like we don't even use it. It's like same with like car insurance. Like, hey, can I get that money back? I didn't get in a wreck this year. Well, no, it's like that peace of mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's the phenomenal thing as well. And you're right, because we're going to talk about this as well, John. It's like, as a new agent, we have a lot of new people on, part timers on as well. And, the question Claudia and I get asked, and you probably do as well, being a sales manager, is like, hey, where do I find everything? Where do I go to run a quote or anything like that? It's like everyone wants to know everything first before their appointment. It sometimes can't be that way, and that can be frustrating. But let's put on a pause. So let me give John a great introduction. Claudia is going to read some numbers. So, John, I kind of want you to tell your story. So, you're in the Connor Jones organization. So, talk about how you found Connor, what you were doing before Equus and with Connor Jones, and I want you to kind of dive into and where a lot of these people are is, you got the nickname John 10K Ray. But from what I've heard of your story, it was definitely not 10K
No.
beforehand. And I want you to talk about how you got to that part, your part-time struggles, and then maybe a decision, a conference that kind of changed your mind. So, Claudia, I wanted to pass it over to you. John, you've been full-time for 2 years now. Is this your second full year?
Yep. 2 years as of last month. Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
So Claudia, what did we find out today?
Okay, so we want to give some numbers first, John, because we want some of the agents really pay attention to what you have to say, because here's what I know about you. Like you got your license, the following week you submit about $20,000 and you've been on the roll since then, right?
That's it.
Like
Yeah.
every
Right.
single week, it's that simple.
It
So,
is. Yeah.
it's that simple. So we're gonna find out. But here's what I want you guys to pay attention, okay? 2024, he submitted 497 application. Guys, he's been in business for 2 years. Okay, just really pay attention to these numbers because there's lawyers and doctors around us that don't make that amount of money. And I say this from the point of being, I want you guys to pay attention because there's, John, I don't know you personally, but I don't believe there's something super special about you that you have super powers, right? You just show up and you work. So I want you guys to pay attention to those numbers because this agent is being 2 years of experience, not 17 like me, like 2 years experience. So last year, he submitted in 2024, $497,000. He have paid 343 application for $312,000 in paid business in 2024. Okay. This year, up to date, he have submitted this year up to date he have submitted 369 application. He already have paid 258 application for almost $250,000 paid, $247,000 paid business. Guys, it's still September. Okay, so if you don't take off the next 3 months at the end of the year, looks like you're gonna pass 2024 numbers,
Oh yeah.
John.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that we want to, you to share is basically a little bit about your story. Okay. I know, my joke about you got your license and you submitted $20,000. That's not the reality. But what we
No.
want to hear is where you came from, the struggles along the way, because a lot of our agents are sitting here struggling, think about it like, I'm never gonna get there. That's not the
Hmm.
reality. But just give us a little bit of your story. Like, how did you start it? Went through the struggles for you to be where you are, that every year you're hitting, you're basically get a number and you're improving. So it takes a lot for us to like get good, get, some agents have a great month and the next month disappeared, right? And they kind of roll the roller coaster up and down.
Hmm.
You seem to be very consistent. So if you can share a little bit your story with us, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like any good story, I need to start at the beginning, right? So, in May of 2022, I had a full-time job in sales and marketing for a construction company. So we were in the reconstruction space. So, like if your house floods or you have a fire or something like that, then our company would come in and rebuild it all for you. And so it was the like refurbishing, reconstruction after a disaster, restoration business. And I was in this Wednesday night Bible study with some other guys, and I had just read the book "Be Your Own Banker" and how to be your own banker, and so infinite banking concept. And I was mentioning it to these guys, like, "Hey, I just ran across this thing. It's really cool. Using life insurance as a investment vehicle." And one of the guys in the group said, "Well, don't get me started on life insurance. I can geek out on life insurance." And I was like, "Dude, geek away. Tell me what's up." And so we started chatting a little bit. And he said, "I think you know you're really into this. Like, you should go do this. Like, you should get your license." And so I'm working sales and marketing for this restoration company, and um, I mean, just open, you already, shared some of my numbers, Claudia. So I was making about 6 grand a month. In Oklahoma, that's, not uncomfortable, but it's not, lap of luxury either. And so I was already in the market looking for something to add a little bit of extra income to the month, and just looking for something to make a little bit of extra room in the budget to keep things moving forward. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And so I didn't know anything about anything. The guy that brought me in, his name is David, and David Limerick. He's a great buddy of mine, good guy, but was not actually a part of Equus. He was kind of um, a part of Equus by default. He had been, funny story, Bill Martin, OG has shared this a couple times, but so Bill Martin's first OG, his first ever recruit was a guy named Colton Hawk. And Colton Hawk recruited David Limerick, and then David Limerick recruited me. And so I'm four, if we go back 20 years, 25 years, I'm four deep to Bill Martin OG. So, but so when they launched Equus, obviously OG's hierarchy came with him, and so I was kind of defaulted into that, and so he worked. So the whole point of that is David wasn't really a part of Equus. He was just kind of in it by default, and so he didn't know anything about the Excel partnership or how to get your pre-licensing done. He didn't know any of that. He was just like, you need to go get your license. And so I went online, Googled, how do I get my life insurance license in Oklahoma? They said, go take a test. And so I did. I went and paid $325 for a Kaplan financial course to get my pre-licensing. Got that knocked out, went and took the test. And in Oklahoma, we don't need to do any of that crazy stuff some of the other states do, like fingerprinting and all that. We're pretty redneck. So if you can pass the test, you can sell insurance, buddy. And so I did that, passed the test, got my license. We got licensed in June of 2022. And then I called the Equus home, went to the website, Equus website, called the home office. They conferenced me in with Kristen Brockman, who was, still is over Leeds, but she was back then too. And she's like, yeah, looks like, well, let me connect you with Connor Jones. I think he's going to be your regional manager. And I don't know how that aligned to make that happen, but I'm so thankful. Like, only better place to have been in the business would have been in John Kite's organization. And so, you guys are in the perfect spot, but I'm really thankful I got connected with Connor. And I don't mean that tongue in cheek, like for real. John Kite is the man. He's on my phone right there, my wallpaper. No, kidding. I pulled that picture up, but I really do appreciate John Kite. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this, just, as a little aside here, is I just, John, you and your dad, I just, you guys have poured into me and over the last 3 years, and just, we met in Greenbrier kind of really in person. And just, if you're a brand new or relatively new to Equus, let me just tell you, you have found the unicorn in the midst of all the mess, because Equus Nation really is absolutely incredible. I honestly believe this is the best thing going. For somebody like me that, is redneck through and through, I'm just a good old Okie boy, no college degree, but I can go out and, and make $250,000, $300,000. Like, there's no way I could do that anywhere else. And this really is, and a lot of that is the company that we are a part of, and the leadership that we have, the integrity partners that make the culture of who we are and what we do, and all that they've poured into me. I'll sign up and do this call every week with you, John, because you guys have already poured so much into me. I just can't wait to give back a little bit. So thank you for the opportunity tonight. But I got connected to Connor, and the rest was history. I wrote 20 grand the next week, and I've been doing that consistently. No, that is false. I had $130 that I could put towards leads. So I took $130 and I bought every bit of that in D leads. So back in the old days before ILC, we had A leads were the top thing, and then you had A1s, then you had Bs and Cs and Ds. And I didn't know anything about anything. I just knew they were cheap, and I needed as many leads as I could get. So I bought $130 worth of D leads. Nobody told me that they were 3 years old. That they left that part off. They just said, "Oh, you'll love these. They're 50 cents each." And so I jumped into them and started calling them like nothing. And so still working, got my full-time job. And what I did in the sales and marketing with this restoration company, my job was to go from office to office talking to plumbers and electricians. And so I'd go meet with an electrician or a plumber, talk to them about, hey, when a customer calls you and they've got a fire or a flood, I want you to call us. You can take care of the plumbing. We'll take care of the wood floors. You just call us and we'll come fix it. And um, so that's what I was doing. I'd go meet with a plumber, then I'd go sit in that plumber's parking lot, and I would make 5 or 10 dials. I'd count them out, 5 leads, and I'd call those 5 before I go to the next place. And I'd go to the next plumber and meet with them, take them cookies or donuts or whatever, and then I'd sit in the parking lot and count out 5 more and make 5 more dials. And I'd try to get my 6 to 8 appointments booked up for the evening, so that by the time I got home, I had something to do. Or if I didn't, usually I got home about 4 o'clock, and I would just jump on the phones and try to dial on the spot because I had, at 50 cents each, 130 bucks will still get you a lot of leads. So I had a lot of leads to burn through. And so I started doing that. And that 130 bucks came and went, and I didn't make a single sale. So I did not knock it out of the park day one. That is not my story. Day 2, I did not either. Day 3, day 4, day 20. We plugged away, and one of the things that I often say on the dial session, I love running the breakout room for the dial session. One of the things that I want people to know is when you're early, when you're new in the business, I know you want to make money. We're all here to make money, but there's a huge component to building your skill set, developing what you do. And I, by hook or trick, whatever, but I learned to love dialing. I learned to really enjoy dialing and booking appointments. And it came in those early days when I was dialing D leads over and over and over, triple dialing every D lead I could get my hands on, and just trying to get somebody to talk to me, and then book an appointment. And you learn how to handle objections. You learn how to talk to people. You learn how to, do that kind of stuff, because you're going to get it thrown in your face, and they're going to be upset with you, and they're going to be frustrated, and they're going to be, I've already talked to 10 people. Or you got a D lead that's 3 years old, and they have no idea what you're talking about because it's been so long since they turned that thing in. They have no idea. Like, mortgage protection. I've had this mortgage for 3 years. What are you talking about? Like, I've done, so you learn how to handle all that stuff. And finally, second week of August 9th, I wrote my first app, and sweet lady named Janet Pinnell. She's over here in Tulsa, and 2 weeks later it charged back. And so it was a fantastic first experience. And then my second lady that I wrote, so wrote Janet with Americo, wrote the second lady with Mutual of Omaha, and that one's still on the books. So that one stayed, and so from there, that was kind of my start. And then I moved slowly moved up. I went from 130 bucks a week to or 130 bucks for leads to, I started doing like 250 a week, and I started getting A1s, which were like $7 each. They're like a lead that's 30 days old. And I got pretty comfortable with those. That was a pretty good sweet spot for me. Probably got a little more comfortable than I should have been, because I stayed on those for way too long. I didn't realize the money I was leaving on the table by doing that, because I mean, it's still an aged lead. It's been passed over by an A lead order a month ago, and so I'm getting the stuff left over, and luckily when you're calling, it'd be like calling a diamond lead now. It's like it's 30 days old, and if you're trailing me behind a STIN lead order now, if I get a really big drop, like 2 weeks ago, I got a really big lead order drop, like $3,000 in 1 week for leads, which is a lot for me. And so there were A leads I didn't get to last week. I just had too many. So there were some I didn't get to. So every now and then, if you're following up on me on a lead order, you might find a couple that I didn't get to, but that's few and far between, right? And so I started running A1s and started doing okay. Making the kind of money that they say you can make doing this part-time, because I didn't believe it for a long time. Like, I don't know if this is smoke and mirrors or you guys are just scamming me for the leads. Like, I know you guys have those thoughts. I've had them, like Derek, you said it, like we're just going to be real, right? And so I know that, you look at that and you think, man, the lead system is a scam. They don't care if I sell insurance. They're making money on the leads, right? Well, let me tell you, they're not. They're not making money on leads. They only make our company, Equus Nation, we only make money on the distribution of life insurance products. So, the leads are subsidized. They're there for you, and they're there to give you opportunities. And so, um, I know you don't really think that when you're first getting started and you're having that lead bill come in all the time and you got to go buy leads off the map. I hate buying leads off the map. I love it when my lead drop comes in. I'm Central Time, so it comes in for me every night at 9 o'clock. And so every night at 9 o'clock, I get that email. I'm checking my email at 9 o'clock because I know my numbers. I know that for every appointment that I sit, I'm going to make $460 in annual premium. I know that for every lead that I get, I'm going to make $232 in annual premium. So if I get a lead drop of 20 leads, like I know what that means in actual deposits to my bank account because I track my numbers. And so I can look at that and know, okay, here's the profit that I should have in the next 2 weeks off of this lead order. But that didn't happen right away. So I was on A1s for a long time. And then in May of 23, I told my wife, like, love, I think her name's Stephanie. I said, Steph, I think that I've got this figured out. We're making an extra 500 to $1,000 a week, just like they said we would. So that's adding about $3,000 or $4,000 a week to our monthly budget, which is a game changer for me. I'm making $6,000. I just added $3,000 to $4,000 to it. Like that's a big deal. And I said, but I wonder what I could do if I did this full time. What would it look like if we really tried to push this? And so at the time, I was doing I would dial Mondays and Tuesdays to try to book up 6 to 8 appointments on Tuesday night. Then I would dial Wednesday and Thursday to try to book up 6 to 8 appointments for Thursday night. And I was running those 2 days back to back. So when I made that decision, so we decided, yeah, let's do it. Let's put it in an A lead order. Let's see what happens. So I put in an A lead order, and my wife's mother passed away in mid-May. So we just put in the order, and then she passed away. So we had stuff to take care of there, and then we went on family vacation, twice in June because I've been making an extra $4,000 a month, so now we can afford to do some things. So we went on vacation twice in June, and then my lead order starts coming in. So I had some leads stacking up, and I'm like, I got to get to work. I got this lead bill to pay now. So in July of 2023, I was able to start doing it. So I booked. Now I still have my day job, did not quit, but I was working 6 to 8 appointments every night, Monday through Thursday. So for the entire month of July 2023, I did that all through the month, and I deposited $22,000 that month. And that was an absolute game changer for me. Like it told me this really works. And I want you to see that because I know that a lot of people, really kind of like we've already kind of talked about early on, you kind of have that, like, what is going on with this lead deal? Like, is this a scam? Like, what's going on? But the difference was I was spending about $2,000 a month on A1 leads, and I was cash flowing an extra 3,000 to 4,000. So I'm making about 6,000 to 7,000 on those A1s that I was paying $7 for. Then I jumped to the A leads and I deposited 20,000. That's a 5x return on what I was doing from the A1 leads. So the real money, I'm just towing the company line here, I know, but I'm telling you from my own personal experience, the real money is in A leads. Like it really is where the opportunity is because you're getting the first crack, the first shot at those people, and you're going to find people that have a check stapled to their forehead and you're like, hey, just sign me up, tell me how much it costs. Like you're going to find that stuff when you have a better opportunity. So that was all we needed. July was a great month for us, July 2023. My wife actually told me like, hey, this is costing us money for you to go work on Monday. You should stay home and do this. And so August 1st, I put in my 2-week notice. And then August 14th, August 13th and 14th, Equus had an in-person meeting in Lynchburg, Virginia, for a builders summit. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be invited to go to that and be a part of that. And so my first day full time was there in Lynchburg with Equus at the in-person event, and came out of that thing just on fire, fired up, ready to go. And one of the things that I have held on to, Barry said, and I've still got it written in my notebook here. He said, salespeople quit every day, and those that don't reach the top of their profession. He said, all I can guarantee you is that you won't fail. The only way you can fail in this business is if you quit. And so I just made up my mind right there in Lynchburg at Barry's. We were at Barry's Ranch having barbecue. And he said that. And I turned to my wife and said, I am not going to quit. I don't care what happens. I am not going to quit. I'm going to have to overcome every obstacle. We're going to have highs and lows. You know, I'm a spreadsheet guy. I already told you I like to track my numbers, right? Like I had spreadsheets built out, all kinds. I mean, I could pull them up for you. My progression, that's what I called it, progression XLS. It was my progression spreadsheet, and I had broken down, like I've got graphs and charts and all kinds of pivot tables, you know, different things I've got built into this spreadsheet that I could show you how I'm going to be a millionaire in like 3 months, all the policies I'm going to write and the people I'm going to bring on, and the overrides income and what that's going to look like. And like, we're going to get to the moon. Like we're going full time. This thing's going to happen. And I had a list of like 60 names coming out of Lynchburg, people that I knew in my warm market. I was going to call and we were going to make this thing explode. I was ready to go. And then got back into it, and, you know, life happens, and you get back to dialing Monday morning, and it hits you. I'm full time now. This is what I do. Like that consistent paycheck I got last week, that's not coming this week. I'm done with that part. Like, and Rob Jones said it. He said, wake up every morning just a little bit scared. Like you need to be after it. You need to go attack something because you're a little bit scared because you don't have a consistent paycheck you can lean back on anymore. And that was a big part of it for me. That was you know, I'm the sole income breadwinner for my family. So this has got to work. I don't have a plan B. I didn't want a plan B to begin with. You know, you don't go into business and think, well, if this fails, I'll just go do this other thing. That's not your plan, right? You want this to succeed. So don't go make a plan B or have one. Like you got to throw that out. So, you know, the only option is I'm just not going to quit. And that was my only option. Was I just got to go make this happen. You know, yeah, I have days still that I book up my. So one thing that Connor told me was that from the very beginning, he said, if you will attack this thing, so now you're full time, 6 to 8 appointments is not going to cut it for you. You got to attack this thing. I want you to go book 10 to 12 appointments. I want you to run that super hard, run hard for 90 days. Go at it full for 10 to 12 appointments a day for 90 days. And then you can ease it back to 8 to 10 appointments, and it won't feel like you're working so hard. If I go from 6 to 8 appointments to 8 to 10 appointments, that feels like I got to do more. So he said, go do 10 to 12. And so I did that. And now, I mean, he's absolutely right. Now, if I do less than 10 appointments in a day, I don't feel like I've worked today. Like, what am I doing with all this free time? Because I don't have 10 appointments to work. And so it makes me uneasy. Like, that's when I get scared because I know this business now. I know that if I put in the work, I'll receive back what I put into it. Like, it'll pay off. But if there are days when I don't put the work in, I get nervous. Like, that's probably a week I'm not going to hit my goal if I haven't put in the activity to make it work. And so I really jumped into that, and then began to move forward. I, you know, invited a bunch of my friends into the business, and we got excited. You know, had a little bit of a team starting to build, and things were starting to grow. And then my first disappointment came along, and well, not first, but a disappointment came along, and a buddy of mine that had jumped into it and he was fired up about getting going decided it wasn't for him. And so my best friend got out of the business, and then shortly after that, a few more people got out of the business, and it was back to just me. There for a while, I had like 3 or 4 people, and I was excited about it. I'm like, we're growing, we're getting somewhere. This is happening. And then it was just me again. And so I had to get back into it. Like, okay, well, go back to my list and start calling some people, and started recruiting again. And just the ebbs and flows of that. The sales side of this role and what we do, protecting families, helping families. Um, you know, there's a skill set there you can learn and you can develop, and then you've kind of got it. Like I I could sell a mortgage protection insurance option in my sleep. At this point, I've been doing this full time for a little over 2 years now, and I could do it with my eyes closed and both hands tied behind my back, right? But all I need you to do is be able to get a text message from Americo. The rest of it will take care of itself. So, but building a team is completely different, and that's a real challenge. It's a long game. It's the marathon in terms of what we do in this business. And so, the progressing forward, get into actually qualified for sales manager while I was with my wife in Italy for 2 weeks. In June of 2024, we won the trip with American Amicable to go to Venice. And then we paid to stay in country for another week and a half and go to Florence and Rome and just kind of mess around the countryside for a while. And I mean, it was incredible. I'm an Okie redneck. What am I doing in Europe? But it was fantastic, and loved it. And then you know we since then we've had the opportunity now. We've picked up a couple of investment properties, and so doing some other things as well. And when I think back to what it looked like in May of 2022, I was looking for something to add a little bit of extra money to my family budget. I was making about 6 grand a month, and I needed a little extra more. And now, look at where we are now in terms of like we've been to Europe, we've been to London, we've been to I've got a couple of investment like this. What we have at Equus is an absolute game changer. And Claudia, you're absolutely right. I'm not. There's nothing secret sauce about me. Like it's just basic, like what we do. Only thing that I will like at all say is I'm not afraid to work. I grew up baling hay. I worked on a dairy farm my senior year in high school. 3:30 in the morning, getting up milking cows. That'll teach you something. And so I'm not afraid to work. And what we do is so hard. I watched an episode of House of David this afternoon while I was making phone calls. Like it's not tough. What we do is really, it's pretty much a gravy train. Now, it's not for everybody because you got to overcome the obstacles. And we could talk about mindset because that's huge. Like the way that you control your mental space in this game, it's a massive thing. But the opportunity is twice as big. And so, I'm so thankful to Equus and everything that it's given to me and the opportunities that we have now. And like the final expense program coming on board, like that's a game changer too. Like there's so much. If you're new or relatively new to Equus, then I would just tell you you're in the exact right spot. You're in a great team. You've got a great group here. I mean, this is a who's who leaderboard. I'm looking at this gallery here. I mean, you guys have got it going on. So you're in the right spot. You've got the right team around you, and you've got the right company backing you to really go and make something incredible. And I'm just one example of the hundreds that are out there of what this industry can do and what Equus can do for you. So thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you, John. Just want to, if you're okay, if we do a couple follow-up questions, and then what we'll
Absolutely.
probably do is anyone has any questions for John, please put them in the chat. I'll ask them, and then just so we're not talking over top of each other, and if we need to bring you on, more than happy to bring you on. Um, so John, when you're part-time and you're going through the struggles, what was something that was said? Did you go to an event where it kind of clicked for you, like, hey, I can do this. I can get through what my struggles are. I know I can do this at 100%, but not part time because it sounded like it's like, hey, look, I was looking for a career change. I don't think a lot of people, I don't want to go full-time insurance. I just want to make a little money on the side. So do you know that moment or what was said or was like, okay, I can get through this?
Yeah, the first real policy that I sold was like it was in September of 2022, and it was a veterinarian, him and his wife. I wrote them both, and they were both like $120 each,
Hmm.
and a month. And to me, $250 in monthly premium, like that was a week's worth of work to me. And like that was massive, and or 2 or 3 weeks maybe, but it was several $1,000s in annual premium. And that paycheck from American Amicable was like, whoa, like this is real money. Like this isn't just $200 or $300. This is like real money. I just paid my mortgage payment with that one. Like that's
Hmm.
a big deal. And that was probably the real defining moment for me in terms of number one, I wrote an app. Like I did the whole thing. I booked the appointment. I sat on the appointment. I did the presentation. We closed the sale. We found the pain and created the value, and then we wrote the application for both of them. And it was a real like you had to walk through the whole thing. They didn't have a check stapled to their forehead. So that one to me felt like I really did that. Like I've got this. I've figured something out here. And then when I got that check, it really kind of painted the picture for. I'll never forget talking to Connor, and he said, "Well, if you can do one, you can do it a million times. Let's go out and find number two." And that really was a big turning point for me to say, "Yeah, I want to jump into this. I want to do it more." And that was, I was just getting into the A1 leads at that point. Um, and then probably the biggest thing for me in terms of I went my first in-person event was there in Lynchburg, and they talked about one of the biggest challenges for me as a new agent was that I was just being, and if you're relatively new, you know what I'm talking about. I know you do. We've all been there. Like I was so emotionally attached to my leads that I needed every one of them to do something. If
Hmm.
somebody said no to me, man, it was like, it would crush my day. Like, I don't remember doing that. I'm not interested, or I don't want that, whatever. And it's like, what do you mean you don't want it? You called this in, you filled this form out, you sent it in to me. You know, I had to pay somebody for the opportunity to get your phone number and call you back. Like, what do you mean you don't want this? And you get so emotionally invested in a lead that you need to make it convert. And when it doesn't, you feel defeated and destroyed. And so learning to disconnect emotionally from the leads so that I can just dial them and not worry about the outcome. The outcome will take care of itself in the activity that I put into it. It's not about this one individual lead. I mean, I got lead stacks. You want to talk about leads? I got lead stacks all over the place. So, like, that's not, once you get to that point where you can just dial through a stack of leads, you don't care, you're just trying to get booked up, that'll change the game for you because then it's no longer a struggle. You're not pushing, you're not having to really fight to just dial the phone, but you can actually jump in and you can start making some money because you're no longer tied to making every lead work for you. You're just wanting to make the leads work.
Yeah, I agree. The best advice I ever received new early on when it comes to lead is there's three things that you can do with a lead. You can book a lead, you can flip a lead, or you can trash it. Book a lead, you can book an appointment, flip it, they don't answer, so you flip it over into your stack again, or two, you just trash it and throw it away. Play like a little air basketball with it and just,
Yeah.
toss it. Like, I'm done with this one. I'm getting ready. And it's just a way to emotionally detach. And the
Mhm.
best advice JK ever gave to me was, a no is just leading yourself to another yes. There's a reason why we get paid so well in this business because not everyone can do it. And just getting to your one no, you're one step closer to a yes. And I remember early on, John, I was doing Boy Scouts popcorn, and I kept getting no's. And I was so tired from it. And JK looked at me I called him. I think he was doing an opportunity meeting for Amway. And I said, why do I keep getting these no's? And he was like, if you go get 10 no's in a row, he was like, I'll buy a certain box or something. So I didn't care about the yes. I just wanted the 10 no's.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about. John, I don't know how old I was. I ended up winning our Boy Scouts, like, a pizza contest because I sold the most. But I was pissed off when someone said yes. I was like, I want
Yeah.
a no. Like,
Right. Yeah.
go get the no, because when you get
Yeah.
the yes, that's when the good things happen. And I love
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah. There's a book. I'm sure you guys talk
Yeah,
about it. Go for
go
No.
for the no.
And it's story. If you've never read it, it's super thin. You can probably read it in one Saturday afternoon. I think this book cost me like $9 on Amazon. It's paperback. Richard Fenton, Go for No, and great book. Just for that exact thing. And there's a lot we could say there. But yes, yeah, I love it.
I agree. Claudia, do you have any questions?
Absolutely. So the way that I look at the no is just get out of my way, answer the phone, say yes and no, but get off that stack. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So, you mentioned a couple things, John, that I want to ask you. So when you first got your lead investment, you went 4 weeks without making any sales, right?
Yep.
And you were
Months.
making okay, months. So 6 appointments a day, dialing in your car while you're still having a full-time job, running those appointments, possibly a lot of no-shows, no sales. So my question to you is, did you had a goal, or what kept you going? Like, what kept John showing up every single day and not quitting when you were not getting the results?
Yeah, I needed it. Like really, at the end of the day, I just like for me, for my family, for our family budget, like I just had to work. I didn't have the opportunity or the luxury of it not working. I was in a different role before, and I was making more money, and then I transitioned to this restoration space, and I was making less, and so our savings account was dwindling, and I needed to figure something out, and so uh, there was I could look at the leaderboard, and there were days that I did this. Whew, thinking back, there were days I would look at the leaderboard, and I just needed to look at the leaderboard to know somebody out there was winning today. Like there was not a nationwide anomaly that no one anywhere was buying insurance today. Like that's not the case. That's not ever the case. If you feel like you're in the vacuum of the space where no one's buying insurance, just go look at the leaderboard, because it will show you you don't have to be Deanna Cooper or Tanya Hughes to go write insurance this week, because it's out there and it's available to you. And so, there were days that I needed that encouragement, but I just, at the end of the day, I needed this to work, and I knew that it could. There were too many people winning at too high of a level for this not to be. I mean, and honestly, like I was paired up with Connor Jones, so he's my mentor and my coach, and I'm thinking to myself, if I can do 25% of what he does, I'd be good to go. Like, I don't need to go write 20K a week. I just need to go write five. Like, that would be, I'd be making more money writing 5K a week than I ever have made in my life. So let's go do that. And then, the 10K thing, um, that just kind of became. Rob Jones challenged me. He said, if you will, he didn't know what he was doing at the time, but he said, if you'll go write 10K, if you'll double the standard and go write 10K, you do that for a couple months, and it'll change the game for you. It'll change your cash flow. It'll change your business. Well, I mean, you go shoot for that for long enough, and it just kind of becomes your new goal. And so it just kind of happened. I didn't set out to make 10K my weekly goal, but it is now. I'll work Fridays and Saturdays if I don't hit 10K a week. I mean, it's just, last week I got had a couple of great clients and made my goal by Wednesday morning. This week, we'll see how it goes. I'm not there yet, so I'll be working tomorrow. So yeah.
So, John, I'll add as you say you needed, but I think besides only you needed, you actually also believe it. that you would the system work,
Absolutely.
because there's a lot of agents here in this call say I need to make the money, but do you believe it? Do you believe it that you're going to be helping your clients? Do you believe it in life insurance, and do you actually believe it that this is possible?
Hmm.
So it takes a lot of more than just need it, to make into this business.
Yeah.
And I love what you say, you're looking at the leaderboard because, hey, you got nothing, but somebody else in there is getting results. So you're not quitting until you get there, right? You're not
Yeah.
quitting until you get the results. And, another thing that I really want to talk about are two things. Based on the investment that you make it, how much you're going to bring it home. I absolutely love that because a lot of agents look at the lead bill as an expenses, like,
Hmm.
oh, I need to pay for this, instead of looking like I just like the way you say you're gonna make $230 in your premium for every lead that you purchase. You're not looking at the price that you pay in the lead. You
Yeah.
actually you trained your mindset to look at the lead and say, I'm paying this, but this is what I'm making. And that is so golden if the agent can just grasp on that, John, because a lead is not an expenses for your business, it's an investment. That's a
Hmm.
big difference between I seen this as a bill and seeing this as an investment that's going to bring in the capital. So talk about that, please.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Leads in the beginning, leads are an expense. They're a necessary evil of the business that you feel like you got to go buy something because you got to make some traction. You got to get something started. But when you can make the transition from purchasing off the map, which feels like an expense to me, still feels like an expense. When I got to go on the map and check the boxes and download the leads and all that stuff, like I hate doing that. I love it when I get an email that the leads are just dropped to me. Like that's an investment in my business. And so and the difference, so I track my business in, another great book that I got turned on to by Equus. I could talk about books all night long, but I got a stack of them here. Um, oh goodness. So 12-week year, great book. Uh, show you how to break up your year into 4 quadrants. Don't call them quarters, treat them like a year. It's not just a quarter. You're going to cram. So this is what I'm doing. Like I cram a year's worth of activity into 12 weeks. So I can do 10 to 12 appointments a day, 4 days a week. And if you're running 6 appointments a day, I just doubled my activity versus you because I'm doing 10 to 12 appointments a day. So, and then I work Fridays and Saturdays too if I need to, if I don't hit my goal for the week. So I do everything by quarter, track all my numbers. I track my leads, I track my appointments, I track the annual premium, all that stuff. And then that's how I can, at the end of every quarter, I'll start a new spreadsheet for that next quarter, for the next 12-week year. And I call them like we're right now, next month, we're going to start year 4, 2025 Y4. So, year 4 starts next week. I'll start a brand new spreadsheet. And I love that because at the end of the year, I'll have 4 spreadsheets that I can put all together. And then that gives me that data. So then I know for the entire year, I know how many leads I got, what my leads expense was for that. I know what happened to every lead. I know what happened on every appointment, whether they booked, no show, rescheduled, app, no app, I can tell you. And then I can take that back to every appointment that I ran, what was the total annual premium that I wrote? And then every lead that I got, what was the annual premium that I wrote out of all of those leads? And that's what gives me the data for now. I know based on 2024, I'm going to make $230 every time I get a lead. Now I'll have new numbers as we go into 2026. Next year, I'll have 2025 numbers. And so my goal is I want to see those numbers go up. I want to increase that, lead to app ratio. And so I save that. I could calculate it now and see where I'm at, but that's just a little game that I play with myself. Like I don't know what that number is going to be yet. I'm not going to know until the last week of December when I put all that stuff together. So that's a little surprise for me to get to figure out in December. But the idea there is, you really do, you really hit it on the head, Claudia, because Yeah, I absolutely needed it to work. I absolutely needed this to happen. Like there was no plan B. This has got to work. But I also believed that it could. I also believed that I didn't have the data that I have now to look back on and say, oh yeah, I know this is going to work. Now I don't have any doubt in the world because I've seen it happen for myself. I've seen it happen for my family. But just getting started, I had to lean on other people. I could watch Connor do a live dial and think, that guy didn't say a single word that I don't already know. That guy didn't do anything that I don't already know how to do. Like they're not speaking some new language that I have to learn. There's nothing crazy here. It's not rocket science. Like I can get this figured out. And I know that this will work for me. And I know that it'll work for you. I firmly believe that what we do is really what we say is it's pretty simple. It's just not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? But you can like absolutely really believing that this is going to work and that it can work for me. And I want you to believe that too.
Awesome. John, it's, just talking to you and just thinking about some of the agents in here. Like I
Hmm.
said, there's nothing special about you. I don't know much about you, but there's not nothing special about you. Like me, I had been so blessed in this business, coming from a third world country, never went to college. English is my second language, but you know what? Don't allow the things that you feel you don't have it to be in your way. Like, for example, you don't have the experience yet on the phone. Go get it. Go buy G
Hmm.
leads and work, just go buy and do it. Calling older leads for me is the boot camp that you're getting, you're building
Yep.
your phone muscles. When you go to the gym and you want to pull your body weight, you're not going to start by pulling your body weight. You got to start with the 5 pounds or without no pounds in your hands. So it's just like you got to build your phone muscle. But, I love your story because we went through, you needed, you believed in insurance, you made the investment, you just talk about you took ownership of your business, like just by the last things that you talked about, and like how you keeping track. That's ownership. You are prepared. You know your lead costs. You know what you're bringing in, and a lot of times, because we're 1099, some agents just want to go with the flow, and they don't understand why their income is going with the flow. Up and down
Hmm.
and moving. Like you're not doing that. You have the ownership. And I think the only point that I really want to talk about it is your work ethic, which is kind of linked with the mindset, right? You're talking about reading books,
Hmm.
guys, if you are not investing in yourself and growing yourself and putting in the work ethic, I feel like it's what makes a person that didn't had experience overcome, bypass, but those that feel like I've been in the insurance business for 30 years, I know everything. Yes, like I can pass you because I'm going to work more than you, right? So, the work ethic and the ownership of your business, I am sure is a key part of your results,
Yep.
because you come prepared. I am sure that when you are thinking about your vacation, you're thinking about, am I meeting my goal for the month? Am I meeting my goal for my 12 weeks year? I think that's basically my last questions for you is about how serious you take your work ethic and your, what you do. Like, do you, basically randomly, schedule a meeting with your friend on a Tuesday morning? Do you have a set schedule? You just feel like, hey, I'm going to work some hours, or how serious is
Hmm.
your schedule? And does your family know your work schedule? Does your friends know your work schedule? Because I think it's a very important part. Yes, we're business owner, but we got to treat like this is our job and have
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. So, I mean, one small example, and then I'll dive into the actual question there. But like ownership is a big deal. You have to take ownership of your goals and your business. I mean, so we're going on vacation at the end of October. We'll be gone for about a week. Going to go down to to the Caribbean for a little bit, and but I buy travel insurance on my vacation because if I haven't hit my goals, I don't get to go. I need to book that 2 months in advance. But if I got to back out because I haven't hit my goals, I need to stay home and work. So it's a big deal. Like I'm not going to let myself miss out
Mm.
on this trip with my family. But I've got the backup there because if I don't hit my goals, if I haven't done what I needed to do, then I don't get to go. And so I'll have to cash in that travel insurance. But um, as far as it goes in terms of work ethic, and you're absolutely right. When you are feeding your mind, when you're, like this is a small sampling of the books. I mean, there's 5 or 6 stacks of, this is uh, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, David Allen, The Art of Getting Things Done, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, 12-Week Year, Go for No. We've got a few more down here. Secret of the Millionaire Mind, John C. Maxwell, Today Matters, The Mental Game by Darren Donnelly. And there's a ton of things that are, when you are focused and you're feeding your mind, you just can't help but grow. Like that's where your mind is focused. You're thinking about those things. You're focused on those things. You're keeping your mind engaged in the right direction. It's easy for me to get distracted. Like I'm scattered all over the place. There's 1,000 things that I could be doing at any given time. And so it helps me to stay focused because at the end of the day, I've got a job to do. And my family knows Monday through Thursday, it's a go. Like from 9 a.m. until about 9 p.m., 12 hours a day, I'm doing something. My wife is a varsity volleyball coach for the high school that our boys go to. And so during this is volleyball season right now. So there's about a 30-minute break where I go run, pick up my boys from school at 3 o'clock. But other than that, like I'm plugged in. I'm either talking to an agent or I'm on a call or I'm running appointments from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. pretty much every day, Monday through Thursday. And then, and then but that creates, like, I know that if I do my job, and I love to, like, I'm trying to make this my coin phrase, John. Like, I'm trying to make this like so I want this to be the tag on my tombstone. Like, we know that this system works when we work. So let's go get to work. Like, I've always felt like that was true. So all I've got to do is put the activity in and the results will come. And so, every day, 10 appointments is a minimum for me. I ran 12 today. I've got just over 5K in annual premium put on the books today. And so, I'm feeling good about this week. I'm going to hit my goal. So the Caribbean is getting closer. I'm going to make it, I think. But that's a part of just knowing the system works and being able to trust it, that you can put the effort in, you can put in the activity, and then I know that this system works if I work. So I'm going to go get to work.
I love that,
Yeah,
John. Before we wrap up, I think we do have a couple of questions.
great.
Newly promoted sales manager Floyd Alvarado. When you converted from A1 to A leads, how many A leads did you start with each week, and how many now?
I think I jumped. I mean, it was a big jump for me because I was going to an A lead order, and I went from $7 a lead to 49. So that was a big jump on its own. But I think I went to 20 leads then. I get about 40 now. So a good lead drop week for me is 35 to 40 leads. Last week I got 55, which was a lot.
Wow.
But I mean, I wrote 15K, so the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. This is from Bobby Jividan. What did you do to disconnect from the emotion of the leads?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I mean, really, so one of my favorite stories to tell. Connor Jones was doing a live dial on our team call, and he was dialing through some leads, and he got a hold of some guy, and the guy just read him the riot act, like all kinds of just tell him to take a hike. And he's like, okay, and he kept dialing like 3 or 4 leads, and then he stopped. He's like, hey, does anybody remember the name of that guy that just told me to go fly a kite like 3 or 4 leads ago? And I couldn't remember. I'm like, no, I don't have any idea. He's like, right. I don't remember either. Let's keep going. And he just kept dialing. And it was like that communicated to me something that Connor had that I didn't have. And that was the ability for him to just move on. Like he wasn't, he didn't have to go pour himself a new cup of coffee and get his mind right and have to settle back down and get focused back in before he could pick up the phone and dial again. It was just like, whatever, next, and just keep going. And so that was a real example to me of what it looks like to be emotionally detached. And then from that point forward, I kind of just started to try to be that, kind of that old adage of imposter syndrome. I'm going to fake it till I make it. And so, like, I'd get a hold of a lead and they'd tell me go fly a kite. And on the call, on a live dial, I would say, forget it, next. Inside, I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy did that. But externally, I wanted to put it out there. And so, and then you just get to the point where it's like, all I'm looking for is who wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going to happen with this lead. Either I'm going to close it, or they're not going to answer, or I'm going to move forward with them, and we're going to set an appointment. And so that's all I care about now. A lead is a lead is a lead.
I love that. Two more questions popped in. When you get this is from William. When you get a lead, what's your dial pattern look like?
As far as like, so there's, I think this is what you mean, William. I might need some clarification, but like triple dial every time without fail. I like when I do live dials with my team, I like to announce, okay, triple dial, because like I've dialed them twice, and then on the triple dial, I'll announce it like this is my third dial, because it's surprising to me the number of people that pick up on the third dial. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they won't answer, then they'll answer on the third one. And I know you get like, this guy's gonna be mad at me for calling him 3 times in a row. But it really isn't the case. Like I can count on probably one hand, maybe one hand and a couple of fingers,
Yeah.
the number of times people have actually been frustrated with me after I told them in 3 years, after I told them who I was and why I was calling, that they were still upset with me for triple dialing. And a couple of those were like, it makes sense, but I'm like, why did you answer your phone in this situation? It's like, if you're a doctor in surgery and I triple dial you, don't answer your phone. Like, let it go to voicemail. It's okay. I've had that happen
Exactly.
one time. The guy was like, "What do you need? I'm in surgery." I'm like, "Why are you answering your phone right now?"
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly.
So the other part of that though is triple dial, um, and then if they are 65 or older, I'll leave a voicemail. It's not anything crazy. I just say, "Hey, this is John Ray. I'm calling in regards to your American Bank mortgage. They're on Second Street. Please give me a call back when you get a chance. 918-902-9123." I don't go into mortgage protection or loan coverage information or any of that. Just lender address, my name and phone number. That works pretty well. If they're 65 or older, if they're 64 or younger, I do the same thing, but I shoot them a text instead. So I'll shoot them a text and say, "Hey, this is John Ray. I'm assigning your paperwork regarding the loan coverage information. Please give me a call back so we can schedule a time to get connected." And then I just real simple text. I'll just shoot to them, and then they go back in the stack, and I'll dial through them again. And William was saying, how many times a day do I multiple times per day? I would, but my lead stack is pretty thick. So by the time I make it through, I've got about 60, 70 leads here. By the time I make it through that,
Hmm.
I'm booked up. So I don't really go through my lead stack multiple times, but I used to. I mean, it would just be, there's not a number. It's when am I booked up? I'll stop dialing when I'm booked up. I'm looking for 10 appointments today, so I'm going to dial until I've got 10 appointments.
Love that. And I love basically what Connor said today. If I book up early, I'm gonna have a long lunch because I earned it. If not, I'm door dashing something I'm gonna eat at my desk.
Yeah, you got it.
Couple more questions flew in. Glenn, most of your appointments one call closes? Who often do you get give me quotes? Or I guess how often do you
Yeah,
give me quotes?
yeah. So I would say probably 85, 90% of my leads are one call close. I mean, that's what my preference.
Hmm.
You're going to get the let me think about it, and you're going to get the let me, you know, a big thing, a hard thing for me to overcome and learn was how to talk to a spouse that was wanting to do it on the spot, single legged. And just the easiest thing I got to there was And I do it for the triple dial, and I do it for single-legged appointments. I blame the man. It's the company's fault. It's not my fault. It's the company's fault. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I didn't mean to dial you 3 times. Company policy. I have to call you 3 times before I can move on. Like, usually when I say that, people are like, wow, I get it. Everybody's got corporate policy they got to follow. No big deal. Same thing with a single-legged appointment. I'm sorry, John, but company policy. She's going to get this benefit if something happens to you. So I got to go over it with both of you so I can explain it all. Like, okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah. So that significantly impacted my single-legged appointments, and then that helps me with a lot of those. Let me talk to my wife, and we'll get back to you, because they're not getting back to you. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
No, not at all.
So there's probably, at one point I tried to track it and I gave up because it was discouraging me. But I tried to track the number of I want to think about it that actually called me back and we closed on something. The number was dismal, so I stopped trying to track that data because it was not money making activity. I can guarantee you that. So yeah, so one call close is the place to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. John, last question and wrapping it up. I don't think we have any more questions coming in unless they fly in, but I kind of want to lead into this because I was laughing the other day because it's so true about your story on the coaching call. But how important was the coaching call to you early on to get through that learning curve?
Oh man.
And then I want to get to my story part after of how important it was being able to plug into that and into, because we do this every day, into Connor's live virtual office.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be here today without it, honestly. I mean, the daily coaching call, when it first started, Rumbo was leading it, and back in 2022, and all through that fall, I mean, I'd be driving to work and I'd have it, on in my AirPods, or I'd be listening to the call, where I'd be sitting in that Walmart parking lot. And there's a little spot behind the Walmart in Skytook, Oklahoma, where I've written probably 50 apps. So I was sitting there on my lunch break, and I'd dial into that daily coaching call on my way to work, and driving into the office. And I mean, it's an absolute game changer. You need it. You need it. Like, I don't care if you think you don't need it. If you're good enough, you got to figure it out. You're going to go like 2 or 3 weeks without being on the call, and you're going to start to feel like, this job's kind of tough, or I don't really know if I like this anymore, or my mindset's not right, or I'm not writing the same kind of annual premium that I used to be writing. And
Mhm.
it's because you're not plugged in. You need the encouragement of the system. You need a part of the system is that daily coaching call. It's what makes it work, because you have the opportunity to get encouragement and get strength and get support, get help. Sometimes I need to be on there just to get fired up. I listen to John Kite, or Jonathan Burns, or Nick, or Barry Clarkson, somebody that just like, I needed that today. I'm ready to go get after it now. Let's go make it happen, because I got fired up from that daily coaching call and that daily roundtable. And it's so critical, so important. And our team call the same way. Our virtual office. I mean, those guys are like brothers to me now. I mean, we've been through so much junk, and people coming and going, and all the stuff. You just you really do build a pretty tight bond with the people that you're working with, and I'm thankful for it, because what we have. I'll close the same way I opened, and just say that what we have at Equus really is special, and
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it.
I agree, and Claudia can correct me, but so getting to my story is that John is a product and he still plugs in over every day, probably going to make well over $400,000 this year. But I was laughing, and John, I'll give you a little tidbit. Myself, Kim Kite, and John Kite, we're all final expense junkies. That's where we all got our start. And you were in, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, in the Nick Burns breakout room, and John was asking for help. John, you're making well. He's still asking for help, guys,
Oh
because he's
man.
not bigger than the system. Nick
Yeah.
gave him help, and I texted John because JB was reading it off. And the very next day, you had a final expense appointment, and you closed 2 apps for $3,300. And I
Hmm.
was like, "That's it right there." I was like, "He got it tweaked, he fixed it, and he went out and did that the next day." And I was like, "Man, that's just awesome." I said, "That's the essence of um, the gold standard coaching call." And I was like, "That was wonderful."
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That, I mean, because that was that breakout. Like, I was trying to dial these final expense leads, and there's no script to follow. There's no real recording of anybody doing this. Like, I'm just supposed to go get this flip chart and make it happen. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, well, let's do that. But how do you do that? So, like, I totally felt like a noob. Like, I was just straight green. Like, hey, Nick, how do you do this? Like, what do you say when you call somebody? And, what, how does this work? And yeah, I mean, yeah, I felt pretty silly, like my first few dials on those final expense leads, but I love them now. So wrote one
Absolutely.
tonight. So
That's great.
yeah,
Last question that snuck in, and we'll let you go.
no, you're great. I
Rob,
love
new
it.
agent here. When calling to book appointments, they're on the phone now. About how many of those do you turn into appointments right then versus setting a time to talk later? I guess I'll go ahead and add to Rob. Like if you have both spouses, the spouse there with you, how many times do you turn it to right there on the spot?
So I'm gonna give you my version of this answer. I'll let you guys clean it up later if you need to. So trust what you guys say. But my answer to that is, if you're dialing an aged lead, run it. You've got them on the phone. It's not a no-show. Run it. If you're dialing an A lead, then book it, because you need to spend time booking up the rest of your day. So, like, we have our, so I'm Central Time. 9 to 10 o'clock is the daily roundtable, right? Gold standard coaching calls from 9 to 10 a.m. And then I jump. Usually, if I'm not in a breakout session, unless it's a live dial, in which case I'm dialing anyway. But if I'm not in a breakout room, I'm going to start dialing about 9:30. About halfway through the daily roundtable, I start dialing my leads, and from 9:30 to 11:30, that's my prime time for dialing. So I do it live on a Zoom like this with my team. We all dial together. When somebody gets somebody on the phone, they unmute. We all listen to it. But that's like, I protect that like nothing else. Like, that is my dial time. I've got to have that blocked off. If I'm not booked up by 11:30, I get super antsy. Like,
Mhm.
what is going on? This is an off day. I got to get back on track. I got to be booked up so that I can start my appointments at 3 o'clock. Uh, so, um, so if you're running A leads, you need to protect your dial time so you can get booked up, so you can run a full schedule. If you're running aged leads, then when you get somebody on the phone, you don't want to give them a chance to no show you later, because aged leads are going to have a higher no show rate. So I would say, especially early on, any conversation that you can have about insurance with a lead, with a client, is a good opportunity to talk about insurance. Doesn't matter if they buy or not, you're going to learn something. You're going to take away something from that call. So if you've got them on the phone, I would say run it.
Love that. Thank you, John. Claudia, any closing comments? I don't think we have any other questions.
No, I want to say thank you, John, for just spending this time with us and pouring your heart and just basically showing that you're real and you just found a system that works. We are absolutely blessed with, with Equus Financial and an opportunity that we can make money and provide for our family. And I just want to say thank you, Chiu, for serving the team tonight, because this call was awesome, absolutely awesome. And I am grateful that you show up tonight and then you serve the team. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Claudia. Yeah. Well,
Thank
I've got, can I say one more closing remark?
Yes.
you. Yeah.
So one thing that helped me a lot early on, and there were several people that I did this with, they never knew, but I would identify somebody on the leaderboard that was like 5 or 6 spots ahead of me. Consistently, they were just like, man, I'm aiming for that guy. And I would just make it like, that's my new target. I'm going to beat that guy. And then I would start pointing at that guy. And so like, you know, there have been several, you know, like you start earning this a little bit and then you bump up and you look for the next target and you look for the next target. And so I want to encourage all of you, if you don't have a running buddy in this business, just go leaderboard and find somebody. And they don't even need to know, you know, that you're tracking with them. You know, they might have a target on the back of their head and they don't even know it. But you know, it's a couple of those guys I did reach out to, Jamie Bandos, Pat Goss, you know, a bunch of those guys. Like I reached out to them and said, hey, you know, I'm gunning for you this week. And so, you know, I just, you know, what we have at Equus really is incredible. This system works better than anything I have ever seen. There is so much money to be made. There's a future to be created. I have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan for like our vision goals and what we want to see accomplished. And we're ahead of schedule. And that's exciting to me because of what this business has done for me and for my family. And I want to encourage you as well that, you know, what we have here, go out and figure out what it is that you need to do to make it happen, because this is worth fighting for. This is worth putting in all the effort, all of the energy. Go make it happen. I want you to wake up tomorrow morning excited to jump into the day and go crush it and make it happen, because you can do that. This is the only business I know of where I can go make 10 grand this week and it's a game changer, right? I mean, like that's real, like that we can really do that. And I could never do that at my day job. Like I'm not going to get, you know, it doesn't matter if I sold a bunch more, like I'm not going to get paid more just for doing my job, but here I can. This system works when we work. So I want to wake up every morning and go attack it and just go crush it every single day. So I want to encourage and challenge you to go do the same. Get fired up, get excited. You're in a great place. You're on a great team. I mean, this is incredible. You know, you guys have great leadership, and it's a great team as a part of a great company that has a great opportunity. And so let's go make it great for ourselves. Thank you guys for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
See you guys tomorrow on the Gold Standard Coaching Call at 10 a.m.
I'll be there.